Hello everyone. In this module, we are going to learn how to handle ticks at x-axis and the y-axis of the plot. And the following are the topics which we are going to discuss. Firstly, we will learn how to handle ticks at x-axis. After that, we will learn how to handle ticks at y-axis. Then we will see what will happen if we use the ticks function without an argument. And in last, we will see example related to these topics. So, let's start with understanding what are the ticks. Ticks are nothing but the marker which are used to show the specific point on the coordinate axis. We have major ticks and the minor ticks. Whenever we plot a graph, plots take default ticks, location and labels. Ticks location is nothing but the location of the ticks where we want to place it, and the ticks labels are the name given to that tick, and by default the minor ticks are in off state, so we can't see it, and we can only see the major ticks at the default location with default labels. Now I will show you example for that, how the simple plots look with the default tick location and labels. So here is the example. I explain you line by line. Firstly, we import the Matplotlib pyplot library as PLT. After that, I define the data coordinates for plotting a graph, which are month and the confirmed cases. Then I plot a graph between the month and the confirmed cases of a COVID-19 in US. After that, I also plot labels at x-axis and the y-axis. Then I add the grid lines in the plot by calling the grid function, and in last I call the show function to display the graph. So now if I execute this program and here is the output, you can see that this plot takes the default ticks location and the labels, and these are the major ticks, which are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. These ticks has some specific location by default and the labels. So if you want to change the location and the label of the tick, we have functions for it. So let's discuss these functions. So firstly, we will discuss how to handle ticks at x-axis. To get or set the current tick's location and the label of the x-axis, we have to call the xticks function of the pyplot module, and the syntax for this is matplotlib pyplot xticks, and we have to pass the parameter to it, which are ticks and labels and other arguments which we are going to use. Moving toward the next topic, which is handling of the ticks at y-axis. So to get or set the current tick location and the labels of the y-axis, we have the function yticks of the pyplot module, and the syntax for that is matplotlib pyplot yticks tick parameter. After that we have a label parameter too, and the other parameter if we want to use, and both the function accepts the following arguments in the form of list. So I discuss these parameter first. The first parameter is a ticks. This parameter set the list of xticks or the yticks location. If we pass an empty list to it as an argument, then it will remove the all xticks or the yticks. The next parameter is a labels. This parameter contains labels to place at the given ticks location. This argument can only be passed if the text is passed as well. The next parameter is a text properties that are used to control the appearance of the labels. Now we will see example related to both the topics. Now in this example we will learn to set xticks location and the labels. So I add a one line to change the text location and the label between the display function or the plot function, which we can say that the show function or the plot function. The line is plot.xticks, which we are used to set the location and the label. So I pass location as 1 and the 9 in the list, and the label as January and the September in the list. So I execute this code, and here is the output. With this you can clearly see that it sets January and the September as a label at the specified location which we pass to the xticks function by changing the default one. So this is the default ticks and the location, and this one is the location of the ticks and the labels of the ticks which we pass in the example. Moving toward the next example, in this example we call the xticks function with some extra properties. So in this function I also pass the color argument and set it to a red, and then I pass the size argument to change the size of the xticks and set it to the extra large, and I also use the rotation argument to rotate the ticks at the x-axis and I set its value to the 45-degree. Now I execute this code and you can see that the ticks change its appearance to a red color and also its size to the extra large and rotate in 45-degree. Now we will see how we can change the text location and the labels at the y-axis. So in this example, I use the plot.yticks function instead of the xticks function, and I pass the list of a location first and then the label for the text location. Now I execute this example and here you can see that it's changed the location and the labels of the y-axis text. It shows peak and the middle at the y-axis as a tick location and the label at the specified point which I passed in the yticks location. Now moving toward the next example. In this example, I call the yticks function with some extra properties to modify it and to beautify it. So in this, I pass an a size argument and set it to a 12 and rotate this tick in a vertical alignment. So now I execute this example and here you can see that the size of the ticks are increased to a 12 and the ticks rotate in a vertical alignment. Now we move towards the next topic. The ticks function when called without an argument gives the current tick location as well as the labels that corresponding to each of them. So for this, if we want to get the current location and the label of the ticks, we call the simply xticks function without any argument and the yticks function without any argument. So I show you example first. Now in this example, you can clearly see that I call the xticks function and the yticks function between the plot function and the show function without any argument, and I print its value by calling the print function. Now I execute this code and you can see that it prints the location and the labels of the ticks at the x-axis, and also it prints label and the location of the ticks at the y-axis. So with this we have learned how to handle ticks at x-axis and the y-axis of the plot. So in the next module we will learn to plot multiple line graph.